Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Astrology and Beyond. I am Tatiana, also broadcasting for ANN Archetypal News Network. Today, November 19th of 2024, marks a really pivotal time or date in our current history. It's the final entry of Pluto in Aquarius. And this is what I'm going to be talking about today, about the themes that this may be bringing for us in the next 20 years, and how we could best work with this transit and what this actually means for all of us as a collective. Also highlighting Pluto's connection to Neptune and Uranus through the next few years, where we're going to be having a dynamic interplay never seen before here on the planet between these three transpersonal planets. And well, the reason I'm doing this video now is to give us a heads up to begin working towards that transformation in the most positive way. Now, is it really necessary to do anything and just to focus our attention doing anything? Not really. When we have these bigger cosmic forces, these forces are pushing us. They are unlocking in us more of our potential, more of our connection to the all that is. And whether we understand it or not understand it, it's irrelevant. This is more about having a connection, a deeper connection to ourselves individually and then collectively. So, is there anything particular to do? No, other than pay attention. This is why these astrological forecasts give us the essence of the times, but in reality, everything is a construct. Even astrology or any other construct, still a construct of the mind, still a belief. So if we go with that, we can still play within the playground of reality and of what we're building here as humans on this planet. If you woke up today and you're still in a human body and you're listening to this video, well, chances are you're still playing here on this playground. And therefore, why not play with what is given to us and our immense creative potential to create realities beyond what we could imagine? And then also co-create with these other more powerful, energies that come from the cosmos. Why not, right? So this is why I'm here. It seems weird what I'm saying. So anyway, the please remember that I have my Black Friday of November offerings already in place this month. For any reading is all 50% off from the highest tier of my sliding scale. So if you feel like you need some guidance or any kind of support I can give you, please feel free to look in the description below and contact me through that. So with that being said, let's enter into some of the themes of Pluto in Aquarius, and I have like 10 main themes. And let's see my notes. So yeah, well, we all know that Pluto touched briefly on its entry in Aquarius in March of 2023. And it was very interesting that that exact week was the week when ChatGPT was publicly announced on certain media. At least maybe many people didn't know about it, but I certainly did because I nerd out on technology. And it was very interesting to see that correlation and how the public announcement of these large language models with AI were the taster, the taste of how this Pluto and Aquarius uh thing might start developing, right? So this is kind of interesting that during the month of March, when Pluto was there was these amazing breakthroughs in technology and how AI is, or at least back then was promising to really reshape the way we do everything. And that is like one theme is not the only theme, but I found it particularly interesting. And now, again, massive announcements in the advancement of large language models and this like AI race, which contains within it, obviously, the magnificent gifts of the Aquarian energy, and it also contains its shadows. And this is why we will look at the gifts or the amazing possibilities and potentials that come with this energy of Pluto, empowering a new set of ways of being in our society and our own beings, and also our connection to the cosmos, and also showing its shadow side, which is what we'll have to begin to assess, balance, and choose. Remember, we are beings with absolute free will, and we can always choose where we stand in the bandwidth of things. So why not choose to cooperate with this powerful energy? Let's not forget that Pluto is all about the power, the intrinsic quintessential creative force and destructive force. Is the force that creates, is the same force that destroys. And that is why Pluto is associated with death and rebirth. To everything that dies and it's destroyed, it's because something new is going to be birthed and created. Is the composting process. The soil, you know, the leaves fall, they die, it decomposes, it becomes mush, and then it becomes rich soil for a new spring or a new seed. So when we understand Pluto from that point of view, we understand that everything that's being shown, revealed, and composed is also to bring a new sense of rebirth and power to the themes or energies of the current let's say, energetic imprint, which is the Aquarian imprint, ruled traditionally by Saturn and more modernly by Uranus. And this we will touch on what this also means. So, what else? So, Pluto will be here until 2044. So this transit is it's a 20-year transit, and in this 20 years we will have enough time to ponder and evaluate these themes, and also be very conscious about how they are um, uh, playing out in society. Now, the last time that Pluto was in Aquarius was in 1778 to 1798. And this was a time where we know there was the French Revolution happening, there was American Revolution, like the beginnings of the Industrial Revolution, like a lot of new things were coming into the social structures. And it's not to say that it's the same configuration. Let's not forget that Pluto is also making a sextile with Neptune and a trine with Uranus. So this in itself, and I will talk more about that, it's really big because it taints the energy of this Pluto, or this destroyer of worlds, uh, with a very different archetypal flavor. When Uranus comes into the mix, we're talking about the cosmic, the higher mind, the things that we don't even know are even possible. And when we talk Neptune, we talk the all that is, the unity, the consciousness that touches and permeates everything. So we're talking this big three energies moving humanity forward in an awakening that has never been seen previously. How that looks like, I don't know, because we don't know. With Uranus and Neptune, Neptune will be dissolving a lot of the, beliefs, things, what we think we are, even our whole human psyche might be restructured. New awakenings to understandings of spiritual concepts. Like, I don't know. This is why it's very hard to say. We can predict things, but in reality, under these transits, there is no way to predict anything, because now we enter the age of maybe what we would call, or some people might call, the superhuman, even though it's not going to happen overnight. But this is where we enter the understanding that this human body that moves around and does things, is much more than just this, and is connected to many of the things that will come into our awareness, into our consciousness, that we will begin to interface and interact with like never before, or at least never before in our understanding of modern history. Maybe digging into even past and more past and more past, as we discover that there has been civilizations for hundreds of thousands of years before on the planet. Then we can go, okay, our known history has never touched on that, but now all of that might be uncovered, and we might be reconnecting with knowledge and understanding from our cosmic origins like never before. So this is kind of exciting. And I don't know if you know, but also this week there was this like conference where there has been all this disclosure around the ETs, and like they call them not UFOs, but I forget the name. Um, on UAPs, I think that's what they call them now. Anyway, I was looking at something like that. It's like, wow, how timely. Very interesting. Again, the week that Pluto enters in Aquarius, we're having now this being very publicly disclosed that there has actually been contact and information and knowledge about extraterrestrial life, and for a very long time by the governments, which people like me, it's like, man, of course we knew that. But many people in the mainstream might go like, what? So this is actually not sci-fi, it's actually real. And this is more of it. This is more of what this Pluto and Aquarius will be uncovering and showing and exposing us to. So anyway, so the first thing I wanted to talk on is like, of course, technological transformation. The advancements in technology that we will see will be like beyond belief. Um, the advancements that we already see in robotics is insane. It's starting to happen. I was also watching this YouTube video on all these new technological advancements and robots. Actually, they have this robot called Amica and this other robot, which is the guy counterpart. I don't remember his name, JC, I think. And they had these two robots that actually have facial expressions and features, kind of have a date together, and they were actually interacting with their artificial intelligence like two humans would, with their own reactions and reacting to each other. And you go like, okay, this could be super cool or super creepy, but either way, no judgment there. It's more like, the point is, this is happening. It's entering our reality. It's no longer sci-fi. It's no longer the movies that we used to watch. These are the things that are actually happening today. Companies like Boston Dynamics, and well, I know many other companies that are pushing forward their robots. I know Elon Musk is like pushing forward with their Tesla bot and robot and all that stuff. It's like, okay, this is just, yeah, there you have it. Who knows what we'll be entering? It could be even, the technology breakthroughs in all kinds of areas of life using AI and large language models is just, it's going to reshape humanity. And the positive thing about this is not that it's like, this is not to be taken as good or bad. It's just that it will push humanity in a different way of operating. Positive things that could come from this is obviously freeing up more time for the human to to if the basic tasks and necessities of the everyday life are more taken care of by more automated processes, the human gets freed up with more time. And then we would ask, time for what? The human might find meaning in other things, meaning in the exploration of self, and maybe meaning in the exploration of beyond the human body. And for that, we need time. Most people are working 9 to 5, and then they go, they take care of the kids, rinse and repeat. Let's do this all over again. And this is being completely deconstructed, and not like today. It's been happening. More and more people are finding themselves working from remote places, and they have their automated task online, they get the job done, they have more free time. So this is actually a positive thing if we think in that direction. And obviously all the medical research and how technology can help in improving the actual biological condition, that's also a positive thing, the improvements in the medical field. And also the improvements of understanding that this vessel, being an organic vessel connected to something much bigger, connected to vibration and frequency, might see the advent of different healing modalities that have to do with vibration, frequency, sound that we already see. We know that certain hertz or frequencies affect the body in certain ways. And there's a lot of research in this area of frequency, vibration, color. So it's not only the biological, addressing the biological with, it's not necessarily about more pharmaceuticals. It's about understanding that this body has capacities to heal itself by using certain bandwidths and frequencies that you yourself can do. I heard the other day that your own voice, when you sing and chant to yourself, it tunes yourself up. And I'm like, that makes a lot of sense. You have all the wisdom inside to heal yourself. And we might access not only that understanding, but also the know-how. And these are part of those things that we might be seeing in the coming years. A second theme is the power of communities. We've been talking endlessly that the top to bottom structures are being dismantled to create structures that are Aquarian in nature, meaning they rely upon the little pieces of the puzzle, each piece being its unique piece that fits a beautiful puzzle that actually creates synergistic functioning. So there's no longer someone at the top saying what to do. Each person takes responsibility for their own being and how to ally with others like-minded to create systems that actually function for everyone. So this would be obviously giving the rise of systems of self-governance and systems of, grassroots movements and things like, for example, if we talk technology, things like the blockchain, you see how it's a collective, uh, transparent system where any change that is made in the blockchain is recorded everywhere. So it's not kind of held in one area of power. It's distributed across the whole network. So things like that. So in the socioeconomics, this is what we're going to see more and more and more, this kind of sharing of the resources and the communities, little communities coming together to find new ways of governing themselves without necessarily having to have a big government body say what everybody needs to be doing. And this is why a lot of these systems are just crumbling. And with Pluto entering Aquarius, it's just going to be the rise of these structures is going to be more and more and more. And to give you an example, I already told you I moved to live with a lovely community in 2022, knowing kind of ahead of the curve, knowing this is where we're going. Why wait? So we took that leap even before and began to grow our own food. And then we began to figure out how to live together. Obviously, it comes with all the challenges of looking within and facing your own shadow and knowing how to live together. But it's very rewarding to see that that's where we're going and we can make it work. It's a matter of being courageous, being brave, and moving forward with the divine plan. And you'll see, you might feel in the same manner some of us felt that even before, you might feel this need, the pressure of these systems falling might push people to have to move into these situations. Unfortunately, it might be some cataclysms, when there's earthquakes or tsunamis or things like that that are just natural earth readjustments might mean that a lot of people might be needing to migrate, move, or change. Hopefully not creating too much more of the trauma, but to see that these movements are for a much bigger reason. That in the end, when you look back and you see why something needed to be destroyed and changed, is because the new thing is much better and it aligns with the new ways of existing that are inevitable. So if you are somewhere, and you've been already feeling that push, start trying to see how could you be aligned with like-minded people, maybe creating, if not like living situations when everybody lives together, at least communities that are interdependent, not codependent, but interdependent, creating networks of people. So it's not necessarily everybody living in similar spaces, village type, but that is going to be also in the rise, the village type community centers where we see we're not depending too much more on big, large grids but more self-sustaining and more smaller grids or smaller pockets. So if you're already thinking about that possibility and it's entering your mind or your brain or your desires, start acting on it, because that's the way to go, you know? What else? 30, radical social reforms. So this is where, again, a lot of the social injustices begin to start rebalanced. You know, the rich are over here and the poor are over here. These big, big gaps begin to be rebalanced. How? We don't know yet the how, but what happens is the grassroots movements begin to create these new ideas of how to create more equity, more equity, more, is that the word? Well, more equality, equity, I don't know, more equality between beings. And remember, equality is not uniformity. Uniformity is everything is the same. Equality is equal access or equal value, and while still remaining each person in their uniqueness. So equality means everybody accesses more of the same opportunities, so that rebalances especially the power dynamics and also the discrepancies in the people that have too much and the people that have very little or have very little access to opportunities. So again, with the new maybe technological advances, there might be a lot of possibility in creating new systems that promote and provide that capacity. And I know everything can be seen as, you know, for example, there was some proposal about a universal basic income. And again, I'm not pro or against, but things like that are ideas that could potentially solve certain of those issues, where the big tech companies that, you know, use robots and AI to produce things and no longer pay people, well, all that money, where does it go? It goes into distributing for everybody a basic living standard. And that is a might be a good utopian idea, but why not? Things like that, those kinds of things might come in the zeitgeist. And I'm not saying it's good or bad. I'm just saying that these kinds of things can be solutions for things that have no longer, that we're stuck. People are really hitting levels of poverty and stress and homelessness, and there's the unemployment is rising in so many countries. Like it's like the whole system, financial system, is just kind of collapsing, and it's like, and we can't sustain that as a society no longer. It's just can't be. People need to go back. We need to go back to finding where there is joy and connection and possibility, and also excitement about who you truly are and what gives you meaning. And this is kind of part of this awakening, is to redefine the meaning of being human. And I think that's one of the greatest gifts of Pluto moving in Aquarius, which also has its shadow, which we will look later. Um, 4, so the revolutionizing of energy and sustainability. And this is where, again, you know, many people are looking at ways to reconnect to the earth and make and work with her. For example, and I give you the example of me and my obsession with my composting toilet and my safe gray water systems that create and gray water planters that will um, help trees grow. I have a composting toilet, and I cannot tell you enough how much I love it. Even with its dysfunctions, it's not yet perfect, but when I see how amazing and simple this decentralized system is, and yes, it requires my responsibility, my own self-governance with my own um I'm not gonna say that word, but I'm thinking about with my well, you know what I mean. it's like it's like amazing, because I start getting this excitement. I was seeing how sustainable Earth is when we work with her, how abundant Earth is. So whenever I take my toilet and I put it in my composter, and then a few months later there's this dark soil, and I'm like, wow, amazing. It didn't go in the landfill. There was no toilet paper, you know, filling trash cans. the water is not being polluted, and this is going to be the soil for my trees that I'm planting. I'm just like, yeah, that's awesome. But it requires that leap. Now, what's going to happen? I'm telling my example just because I've been doing it, and it was not easy making those transition from my comfortable a condo in Victoria and my toilet, my flushing, everything being there, and everything is was not easy to move to make this move and go, oh, I need to be responsible for these things. But in reality, what is really cool is that when you start doing it and you realize how good it feels to be part of this system that is sustainable, it's amazing. So that is to say, that will come in the zeitgeist, this desire to be more sustainable. With that will come also technological advancements, so that these things are not necessarily like a drag, you know? People are going to come up with great ideas to keep these kind of systems, and also maybe we'll have renewable, like more systems of renewable energy that is really affordable and maybe more decentralized. And I'm not talking necessarily solar, but maybe advancements in technologies that have been hidden, but Pluto kind of brings them out into the light as things that are going to be accessible. Because with also the demands of power consumption of the technology sector, there's gonna have to be some kind of revelation in the area of power of yeah, energy. So and energy, obviously we talk about physical electricity and energy to power grids, but also what happens here is we start understanding also the power of our own internal energy, and that is another level of self as well. When we start understanding that our own energy can create worlds, you know, literally. And how that is going to happen, again, I don't know, but it's going to begin entering our awareness. So teachers, people, techniques, things are going to be being brought up to access those fields that we didn't access before. Things like, you know, even like healing with energy, moving energy, shifting things and creating things with your own physical energy. So this is different octaves of the same theme, and I'm just giving you the option. I'd like to write the higher octave. That would be amazing. But I'm also really excited about the octave of the more physical things that will happen in this planet. I think it's amazing when we use these things responsibly. It makes everybody's lives on Earth much more easy and happy, hopefully. Um, Number 5, decentralization of power. Like I said, the decentralization means the Aquarian paradigm does not hold the power from at the top. It really makes these structures that are no longer one person or one country or one entity dictating the whole. And you will see this more and more and more in all areas, whether it is education, we will see it in different institutions, in government, in all of that. We will see that more and more we're decentralizing systems. The banking system will start getting more decentralized, and yes, we have things like cryptocurrency and so on and so forth. But not only, we won't only see just cryptocurrencies that are decentralized, we might see also systems of barter that are localized in communities, like the barter pay. I know there's this I think I talked about this barter pay system, which is a system created by someone in the 90s that is kind of gaining more traction, where it kind of bypasses the whole need to go through the banks and stuff, and you just it's exchanging systems, exchanging give like skills and things through kind of tokens of exchange, which is a kind of currency anyway, but it's decentralized, and it's also for people that are within those platforms, and these platforms will be more and more and more and more common around the world. So you'll see the emergence of these things is already happening. So whether or not all these people know about Pluto or they don't, the reality is these themes are all happening, you know, which is kind of phenomenal. We will also see much more global connectivity. And the global connectivity does not mean, again, one central government. What it means is like in the same manner that we have the internet, um, there's going to be a much more cohesive way of functioning throughout the whole planet. So as much as there's decentralization, so more localized economies, the whole might be also more connected in a more functional way, like almost like, let's say, we as a humanity work as humanity and no longer like this is this border and that's this border and you're that and we're here. Not necessarily, unless we fall in the shadow. The shadows come in a little bit. This, for example, if we start connecting with certain other life forms outside the earth that are brought into our awareness, like extraterrestrials or beings that are not necessarily kind of currently here visible to us, suddenly become more of a thing where we can interact with them and they become more part of our daily lives. And then it might give humans a sense of connectedness as humans and no longer as like I am from this country and I'm from that country and I'm from there and from there. There might be a sense of a connectivity as a human race, which could be very beautiful, and also as part of this bigger cosmic races. It's like we enter the age of we are finally cosmic citizens and say, well, here we're humans, and we might have also the access to the understanding and the knowing that right now, right here, we are in a human body, but that doesn't mean that we were always human and that our soul has only been human. We might access or gain that access and understanding that we have been also journeying through many, 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 many existences. And that is part of this awakening, this understanding that we might have been so many other things as cosmic beings. And that just expands, which is of the nature of that Uranian field of expansion and higher mind, accessing levels not, and obviously Neptune, which is that connection to Pluto, and Uranus will have this effect of taking us to those places. There might be also some resistance and need to rebel against control. So, and we've seen this more and more and more as Pluto moves away from Capricorn, exposing, it has exposed all the dysfunction of the top-down structures of the governments, of the church, like all of that. It's like what will happen is any attempts that still are there to control will be met with big resistance because the freedom, the need for freedom, Uranus is all about freeing up. You know, it's the Promethean myth of bringing the fire. And Prometheus brought the fire to humans and then got punished by Zeus. And then this idea of liberating the human race to find themselves in their own awakening, their own enlightenment without the need for any control outside will make the humanity want to not be bound ever again, not be enslaved in any way, shape, or form. So we might see lots of resistance again, any attempt at control or manipulation that may also come throughout the next 20 years. Like I said, there would be, well, breakthroughs in science and medicine. We talked about it a little bit, especially advancements in genetics and quantum mechanics and things that we have never seen before. Again, you can have like, you know, that thing called CRISPR. I don't know if you've heard of that, but it's, well, I'm not an expert. I just geek out a lot. But it's like ways where you, like these nano things find things and they can help target micro things to help address specific issues in the body. Like, so there's like crazy thing in nanotechnology and, you know, things that is like beyond my comprehension. And like gratitude for all those scientists that are getting so inspired to do these things to help the human biology live healthier and longer and better, which, you know, we are in a health crisis. Now there will be also a this is a really interesting point. It's the new form of identity. And what I mean by that is that we might be coming into into a deep desire to know deeply who we are, each person individually, no longer by accessing the outside, which is from the age of Pisces. We would access the church leader or the religion that would tell us, or the scripture that would say, this is what you need to follow, this is what you need to be. And at this time, what starts happening is like a movement towards the inside to really understand that there's nothing outside of me. Sorry. I've got the, we need some water. I'm gonna pause it. Oh God. Or I'm just gonna be here puffing with you. Oh my goodness. All right. Okay. Wow. Back to the inspiration. So the new form of identity means that we no longer identify with things outside of ourselves, but we will be going in so much and so deeply that we will want and desire to know more about who we are, what we are, who am I. And then that's why things like astrology are going to maybe become more popular. Astrology is totally Aquarian. And now these channels are becoming more of interest, and people want to know more of, how do I access my psyche? How do I access things? And actually, I've been studying this amazing other type of mapping the psyche. If you have not heard about it, it's called the Gene Keys by Richard Rudd. I highly recommend you look at things like this. This is actually starting to come out of the woodworks more and more in the consciousness. And I find fascinating that when we work with systems like the Gene Keys, which is kind of also kind of based to a certain degree on astrology archetypes and the I Ching and other ancient ways of mapping the psyche. But the way it's mapped is phenomenal, because it's about addressing the information imprinted in the DNA of our lineage as humanity and beyond, and how in gaining awareness of the shadows that we hold in our genes from our lineages and from all of our past are just held in the DNA and crystallized, and how when you gain awareness around that, you can start kind of bringing the shadow to the gift, and from the gift to its highest potential of evolution, so humanity itself can be freed up. So I highly recommend you look into the Gene Keys by Richard Rudd, and there's videos out there, there's a website, and there's all kinds of things. I am like deeply studying it, so also when I give you an astrology reading, if you're interested, I might start pulling in from things like the Gene Keys as well. Anything we can do for self-discovery, self-knowledge, know thyself, will only be helping our humanity become more cohesive and coherent, and less of the shit show that it has been. Not that it won't be, I don't know, I cannot say, because everything is a process. But what does happen is we become more responsible with ourselves. We do not relegate the responsibility outside ourselves anymore, because when you know yourself and you know why you came with what you came, and how you can be an agent of transformation from the inside, well, then we help transform the whole world, not by trying to put it outside. That's why the control and manipulation is not gonna work. What works now is self-responsibility, and that comes with knowing yourself deeply. Why? Because if we know ourselves so deeply, we know also how we can best fit as the piece of the puzzle. We cannot be something we're not and expect to fit. And I was kind of reflecting upon the fact that the Libra and Aries eclipses, we've been having these eclipses in Libra and Aries axis, while Aries is in the North Node. It's almost a precursor to this new era we're entering, or new era, or new phase, let's say. It's not like an era, because the age of Aquarius has been going on for a while, but this new Pluto entering Aquarius, giving like boosting this Aquarian energy. What happens is the Libra and Aries axis, with all the eclipses, we're trying to push us more and more and more into our individuality. Like Aries is really about the initiation and and almost like the self identity of like, what can I do? What is the me versus me and the other, which is in the Libras, me with the other. This eclipses were trying to redefine, like, for you to really know where you vibe with other people and where you need to be more in tune with yourself. So these eclipses and have been helping us release the things that are not us, all the people pleasing, all of that stuff. So this is why it's been like a year of that, and it makes sense because in the times to come, we need to know ourselves really deeply in order to be able to fit in that puzzle properly without frustration. Because the frustration always comes from the human being enslaved to somebody's um, desire over you. Like, I want you to be this or do that. If you don't know who you are, you will probably say, okay. But if you know deeply who you are and you're connected to the source of all that is giving you your blueprint, your information, and what you're really good at, what you really came here to do, then you no longer need to follow anyone. You follow your own guidance and your own authority. And this is self-governance. And this is what is coming at a higher level of consciousness. But for that, we need tools of self-knowledge. So what's going to happen is a lot of these tools are going to come up. People are going to be really interested more in like depth psychology and astrology, in understanding even their origins. And this will come more and more and more and more as this transit unfolds. So again, this is not an overnight thing. It happens over time. So those are some of the themes. Now, it's very important to look at some of the shadows, because these are the themes that are really kind of pushing our humanity forward. But the shadows is where we need to take a big look. So when they get exposed and we are able to see how they're playing out in our reality, we can take that agency and go, what is my choice here? So the first thing is the technological overreach. So what happens is technology might advance so fast, so fast, that we start not having proper measures in place of like safety. There might be so much greed around evolving and getting all the new things and all that stuff so fast that there is no space to see whether or not that is actually positive or good, especially if corporations and companies and big tech are greedy, and wanting to just make money and keep that system going. This will be shown. The rapid growth, how it dehumanizes, or how it would make us even more disconnected, because technology has this is wonderful to create connection, but it's also wonderful at creating disconnection. Is the paradox, right? People in their phones like this, and now the new gadgets and the new things, and you're even immersed in metaverses, and then you're all there all day long, and suddenly you're not even anymore with anyone. So that is something really important. So it is very important to advocate for ethical tech development. So if you are in any of those areas that you work in information and technology, make sure that you advocate for safety, for proper measures, for ethical practices. This is going to be a game changer. So if you are listening to this and you're that person who works in that area, make sure not to get swept by the temptation of the fast and exciting, and go with the slow, steady, safe, and always promoting something that is good and positive. Next thing, dehumanization. And this is where instead of becoming more connected in communities with each other, working in synergy with all that is, what happens is that this amazing progress might start making us more detached from the human emotion, from the need of connection, because again, we might be completely submerged in these worlds where you don't even need to be human anymore because you might even have, I don't know, a chip in your brain or whatever. I mean, I don't know, things that can happen that remove you further and further. They remove us further and further from our humanity. Um, Things like those artificial wombs, for instance, that do exist today. It's the pretext is like people that cannot give birth and so on and so forth. This is an avenue for people to actually be able to have kids. But what happens when this becomes like, oh, now this is so cool. We can change the color of the eyes and this and that and genetic modifications. And now a child is born in a box and without no contact to the mother. So how do you pass the information of the soul? It's kind of creepy, but these things are in existence already. What can happen is these things take on more power, and then we see these things occur. These are deeply dehumanizing things that technology might bring. So, oh my gosh, there's an otter. An otter is coming. Okay, I gotta show you this. Oh my gosh, hello, otter. Hello, do you see that? What are you doing here, buddy? Oh, that is so cute. Oh my gosh. Okay. Back to being human. The love of the animals. Anyway, sorry, I just got so carried away. I've never seen an otter so close. It's so cute. Anyway, coughing, otters. Okay, you name it. Anyway, so dehumanization, like, yes, the technology, like I said, it might just make us become more and more desensitized from real human emotion because we're so connected to all these technological things. Um, and and yeah, like we might not even think it's even necessary, especially when yeah, and we might see that it's like nothing wrong with it. You know what I mean? Like, oh yeah, I'm just going to get a baby today. Bloop, 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 and the machine delivers it, and you're like, oh, cool, baby, So these things may appear with these rapid, inventions and things. So something to work on. So to navigate this, we need to foster emotional intelligence and prioritize connection. So this is why, and again, I say I I personally do something called freestyle partner dancing that I love doing, and I teach that, which is literally dancing together with another human. And I hope more people can do things like that, where you're creating events or places or spaces that can foster actual people coming together to do things that are human, that are technology free, that you don't need your techie things or anything. You're just connected with another human, talking about things, maybe circles where you can have heart circles and people talk about emotions. So if you're that person, please double up on that, because these are the things that are going to help this energy be in its more elevated form and counter this other possibility. Remember, we can choose. And if you are in a leadership position, well, I invite you to do more of that. Another thing, surveillance and control. And this is really a key thing because with the advent of these technologies, not only, yes, there's more decentralization, and there's also the capacity of technocracy to become a thing. Because now everybody, has, your face is scanned everywhere. So for the powers at B that are not interested in moving into a more elevated state of this energy, well, they might get a lot of desire in control through technology. So that is something that we might be facing as well, social, what we call it, social credit scores and things like that based on, your every little move, and everything you do. So technology might be used to actually surveil you and look at you, and then everything's just known from you, and it's like, so what to do about that? Well, it's very important to make sure that we're pushing for transparency, for human rights, and the rights to privacy. And this, again, if you are in the fields of law or any of that you have some agency around that, make sure you're also advocating for that, for transparency, for privacy. Otherwise, we're giving away our power to those, to technocracy and technology, to just do whatever they want with us, and that's the shadow we might see. Another thing, there could be a possibility of rebellion without vision. So just movements that just begin to rebel for the sake of rebelling. And then there could be a lot of chaos and destruction with no real purpose, just out of the need to rebel for the sake of rebelling. So to do that, we need to have real good constructive visions that if you really want to break out of a system, make sure there is something to go to that really is going to promote health and promote connection and a betterment for our society. If it's just rebelling for the sake of rebelling, but there's no plan in place, well, it could just be chaotic. And we might see it as well. Lots of revolutions and rebellions and protests and things that have just a little bit no plan attached to it. Also, we might see polarization of ideologies, and this is kind of interesting because Aquarius, as much as it wants to create these networks, it's also ruled by Saturn. What happens is, what we might feel like with this polarization of ideologies comes also alienation and isolation, because then people might start believing that what I think I believe and my model of the world, it's the right one. And then over here, these people say my model of the world is the right one, and this one say my model of the world is the right one, and therefore this start creating differences in 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 values, in views, in ideologies, and then these collectives that start forming, or communities, start also alienating themselves from each other. That is a shadow that is very possible. So what do we need to look out for? That we stay human, knowing and understanding that all communities and all different points of view are valid. They're human. We all create from our own beliefs, and is to not judge the other for believing or creating something different from what I believe and I create. It's also understanding that they too are piece of the same puzzle, and they're doing what they're doing. So the non-judgment of the others is going to be very capital and crucial in not creating this alienation. So if you're forming, let's say, a community, a group, or anything, make sure that, yes, you're in alignment with your values, with people that you really resonate with, but you're not entering in the judging and discrimination of others because of that. But conversely, try to stay curious about what others do and how they do it, even though it's not what you do and how you do it. So stay curious, stay open, and still make those connections, maybe in other spaces where you get curious about what they're doing, what other people are doing. Why do they believe what they believe? Why do they create what they create, instead of judging them? So that's going to be really important to to avoid alienation and dissociation of ideologies. What else? Oh, power struggles in groups, within groups. And this is uh it's interesting because when groups start coming together, and trust me, this is something I've lived through the past 2 years in coming with groups, there is the inevitable clash of the human psyches and the shadows. It's inevitable. That's what we are, right? We are a package of all that is. So the power struggles might start ensuing when people come together and they still haven't seen the shadow parts. So start mirroring shadow, then struggles begin. Now, this is going to might be seen more and more if we don't have a practice of self-observation, self-awareness, and self-knowledge. Because when you have self-observation, self-awareness, and self-knowledge, you begin to understand that when somebody's in front of you, projecting something on you, chances are they're not looking at something, but you have the agency and capacity to look at yourself and see why that is coming up and go within. This is why, again, I have this, like, this gene keys, right? The gene keys is part of something I'm doing, and actually the community I live with are deeply invested in finding different ways to look at these things. And that's what, in my opinion, has helped us navigate through multiple challenges and disagreements. So it's not to say that coming into communities is like, oh, it's the old solution to rainbows and butterflies and everybody's happy. No, it's like the humans are still humans, we're still human, we'll still carry egos, desires, we're different. So in order to harmonize that, we need to have some kind of tool. And what the shadow of these coming together with people is the unending power struggles. And without tools and viable solutions, we might just end up in a lot of disharmony and discord. So I highly recommend that uh, you have tools, that you access tools. Again, I'm giving you a tool we are using, but there's multiple tools. You can also use astrology. You can use groups of, you can do forum groups where there is expression and with non-judgment, holding space. We can have mediation groups. Like there's all kinds of tools out there to help people get in touch with those parts of self that just want to be seen, recognized, and transcended and elevated. So again, really important. Otherwise, we might see a lot of this in the coming years. Last thing, the loss of identity. So we might be also merging so much with the collective ideologies, with technologies, with this like web, because Aquarius is about the web, almost like a hive mind kind of thing. But the issue with hive mind is that there is zero identity, and that is a shadow, because hive mind, it's it has lost any capacity of the free will of the self to enact. So what happens here is, once there's a trend set, for instance, all those deep fakes and things and new ideologies, whatever comes with technology and fads, people might believe things because new beliefs are being formed by whatever people are putting out there. And to this day, that's one of the things that's kind of crazy, is the misinformation, the deep fakes, the not knowing what is reality. Because in the Aquarian age, there's the plurality of reality, which is everything you create is a reality, and you might get lost in that. So let's say you get lost in some kind of fad, and then everybody thinks that, and you're in this fad. When there's a fad, it's like the teenagers, like if one does something, everybody else does it, and they all look the same, for the need to belong. But what happens here is, if that becomes like sterile, like just the fat, then the free will, which is humanity's, like, is the universe's most precious tool and humans' most precious divine right, is free will. And the free will comes from you do whatever you want to do and feel like doing to experience something, and then deal with the consequences of your free will. But this kind of behavior kind of annihilates that a little bit, because then it becomes this hive mindy kind of pockets or groups that are like kind of become more uniform and not so much unified. So this is a shadow. This is why make sure that in finding your tribe or people with the same values, you're not losing the personal identity. You're not losing who you are, and you're actually adding your flavor to the group. It's like having a beautiful soup made out of so many different flavors. That is kind of what we want to see at the best expression of Aquarius, is all these flavors in the same soup, and then that is wonderful. So yeah, other little things we can say, like little tips for all of you out there. I would say definitely foster community connections with people, stay informed about all the advancements in technology, so you can make proper decisions on how you're using technology yourself. I'm not at all against technology. I absolutely love and adore technology. Uh, but again, it's how do we use it? So we use it with moderation, and always in services of something better and higher. So stay informed to see what are we giving our power to when it comes to all those kinds of advancements. Advocate for ethical practices no matter what, in whatever industry. Make sure we're taking account of the earth. If what we're doing to advance is not helping the earth and is still in detriment of the earth and the sustainability of earth, I wouldn't go that route. Put your energy in things that are going to be sustainable and, yes, technologically sustainable. Cultivate self-awareness, so being really aware of who you are. Make sure you stay in balance between the collective goals or whatever the communities that you're forming are wanting, and the values, but always staying also with your individuality, so there is a balance, there's not an imbalance. Sustainability, definitely keep practicing anything that helps you be more in tune with the cycles of nature, cycles of earth. Um, Practice discernment. So if you see there's the new fad or the new information that comes from somewhere, make sure to have some critical thinking around all this new stuff. Because with Jupiter and Gemini also, it's just like the explosion of information, and it's like everywhere. So there's so much information that to practice discernment, when you come in contact with information, do not take things at face value, always question. And the best way to question is not only to research, it's also to tune in to yourself and try and see if you resonate with the information. And resonance is like it's like almost like it's a feeling. If it feels awkward or off, you don't resonate, discard it. Don't believe everything you hear, not even what I have to say. Like seriously. Um, Definitely, what else? In my notes. Yeah, stand for justice and freedom. Um, and what I mean justice and freedom, I don't mean staying in being in a camp, like, but justice comes from the deeper knowing that everything I do for others that is good for them is good for me. And then when I see someone or something not acting in that way, you might be able to stand for that. uh, and also freedom. The freedom again is not like freedom, free ourselves from this. We're not freeing ourselves from anything, or I wouldn't say from. We're not freeing ourselves against anything. It's not against. Freedom is just reaching towards something that is more elevated. So standing up for freedom is not fighting against something. So justice and freedom within that context just means that you are standing up for something that elevates you, that enhances you, and that makes sure that everybody has equal opportunity. And that's where justice comes in. It's equal opportunity and equal footing, you know. And the last thing that I would say, embrace the shadow. Pluto is here to show us the shadow. I was having this reflection about what is shadow. And sometimes we think, oh, shadow is bad. Nope. Let's take away all labels of moralistic or judgmental things around shadow or light. Shadow, to me, at least, it is the absence of the light. It's what we can't see. So when we embrace what we can see, we're trying to look at the place that's dark. It's like entering a dark room. That's all that it is. There's nothing wrong with a dark room. It's just dark, you know? So embracing the shadow means we go in the dark rooms of ourselves. And then when we go in the dark room, we might start touching things. And then as we discover things, we might pull them into the light and go, oh, okay, this is all there was. Or maybe we open a little window or turn a candle and poof, suddenly we're shining light in the shadow and like, okay, this room is full of stuff. Let's start cleaning it. That's what it means. So please don't take all this like shadow work and things as anything wrong or bad with you or anyone. We all have these unseen places or these shadows. We all carry them as humanity. If we look at them with compassion and love and we clean that up, chances are at some point the whole house is so clean, so beautiful, so sparkly that we can even enjoy it even more and actually see where we're walking. This is the awakened human, is the human that sees, that no longer not see. The shadow is because we don't see. We are not awake to that. But once we start seeing, we will be able to be completely coherent and responsible for all our choices and all our creations. Yeah. Oh, last but not least, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto. This is going to be, this Pluto entering Aquarius will have a few years of this little triad. And this triad is, again, like I said at the beginning, is going to give us flavor to this transit that's very different from what it was before. So I'm going to read you a little bit of the flavor from The Archetypal Universe by Ren Butler. Here it is. I love you, Ren. Uranus, Neptune, Pluto. So the principles: an empowered vision of human emancipation, successful integration of the sacred and profane elements in the psyche, shadow, descent into the psychological underworlds, followed by blessed rebirth into absolute consciousness. Human history as leading inexorably to an omega point of collective awakening. Whew. A mystical glorification of freedom and democracy. Critical attitudes towards religion or political abuse of power. Profound idealism and faith. A sense that collective emancipation is not possible unless individuals do their own inner work. The awareness that all extreme ideological positions are simply subsets of human psychology. A determined pursuit of holotropic states, feelings of spiritual surrender, successful integration of the higher and lower or light and dark elements in the psyche, blessed Dionysian liberation, an ability to go all the way down and through. Yoo-hoo! The psychological underworlds, descent into the perinatal underworld, followed by blessed reawakening into the realm of absolute consciousness. Successful elimination of the outworn elements of one's psyche. Sacred pyrocatharsis. Blessed win-win solution. Transcendence of duality, a sense of human history as leading inexorably to an omega point of collective awakening, human progress as cosmically ordained, the awareness of living in times of great cultural blending and churning, convergence of the classical and romantic impulses, the great axial age, the Tang dynasty, the Renaissance, transpersonal psychology, the interplay of Dionysian, Promethean, and Apollonian forms of ecstasy. Ooh, that is a handful, Ren. Poof. I drop. Well, there you have it. Pluto in Aquarius will be tainted by this inevitable spiritual awareness, awakening, and we will be aided deeply in this process. This is what this means. This energy means that for those who are deeply committed to this awakening and this ideal way of living as a humanity, we are freeing ourselves up by deeply committing ourselves to being human, being here, and looking at those parts of our humanity and sharing it with others. And that, peeps, that's going to make all the difference. We will have tools, we will have guidance, we will have all kinds of impulses for this to happen. It's not magic, it's just going to be awakened within the human. So I am so looking forward to these transits. And yes, they come with all the darkness, they come with all their upheavals, they will come with all of that, but we have a choice. You have a choice. And I love you. And I hope this video has inspired you, has given you some context, gives you some ground. And please feel free to share and then like and subscribe so we can find these videos. And I love you so much. And I'll see you in the next video. Blessings.